And Bemetra, I know that the Tampa Bay Partnership is looking closely at all things related to affordability. You've mentioned the report earlier in the show. The Tampa Bay Partnership has a brand new study. You all are announcing the results. This was done with JP Chase. Tell us about the study and what were the key findings in that study so that viewers understand.
Sure. So it's the first report of its kind. It's basically, it's called the housing equation is what we're calling it. But it identifies our housing gaps by income level, by geography, by demographics, and by housing type, broken out at each county level for the three most populous counties in our community. So Hillsborough, Pinellas, and Pasco counties. We're very grateful to JP Chase for funding this independent research and investment. And hopefully what it will do is provide a roadmap for understanding the scale of the challenge and allow us to have a region-wide action plan around solving this and taking a look at this from a regional perspective instead of at an individual municipality level.
Mm-hmm. I was able to look at some of the data that was in the report before we did the interview, and I was struck by the fact that homes under $200,000 made up 30% of all the sales in 2019. 30%. But by 2022, that number dropped to just 2% of homes. Mm-hmm. And you know, earlier, that's what Jake was talking about, how difficult it is for young professionals to be able to afford to get into the housing market, to buy their first home. Data like that speaks to the housing affordability of a region. That's different from affordable housing. How do you explain that, and why is it important for us to even know the difference?
It is critically important for us to know the difference because affordable housing speaks to subsidized housing. That's typically talking about helping residents who are less than 60% of average median income. Housing affordability is every worker of every income type being able to afford housing. And this report is what that addresses. And housing is not an altruistic issue, it becomes a workforce issue. If you take a look at, like you said, our rising costs that we've had, we're gonna need, someone mentioned all of the growth that we've had in Tampa Bay. In our competitiveness report, we've been #1 in growth for the last 4 years, but also #1 in rising housing costs. And then if you take that coupled with the lack of transportation and transit options, people are being pushed further out with nothing to come back in on other than to drive their vehicle. So we have to address this. This isn't just about housing, it's about essential workers, it's about teachers, it's about healthcare workers, it's about firefighters and first responders. So hopefully this report will allow us to rally as a community through the data to make some policy changes and to come up with a collective plan to address this issue.
This is a nonpartisan effort. The Tampa Bay Partnership is nonpartisan. The study looks at these different areas. What are you hoping that policymakers and developers will do with this data?
Well, we hope they use it to inform decisions, right? Whether that be zoning issues, whether that be our accessory dwelling unit policies, whether that be the way that we have people qualified, down payment assistance, rental assistance, really the whole gamut. And you make a very good point. Housing is not about politics, it's not about race, it's not about gender, it's about people having safe places to live that they can afford to raise their families and to live.
Well, I want to thank all four of you for coming in on such a busy week. There's so much going on in Tallahassee. You all are announcing the results of this big study on the 16th, and so thank you for coming in and just helping us give viewers a sense of the details involved in each of these important decisions. Really appreciate your perspective and your expertise.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you for having us.
For data and detailed results on the report that Bemetra just spoke about, or to register for a webinar on the findings of that study that's going to be held on February the 5th, you can visit the partnership's website. That's tampabay.org/housing equation.